15 intriguing details from Princess Diana's funeral procession. The world stood still on September 6, 1997. Following the tragic death of Princess Diana, millions mourned a woman who touched hearts across the globe. But beyond the public outpouring of grief, there were unseen stories and lesser-known details that unfolded during her emotional funeral procession. From the heartfelt tributes to the surprising protocol breaches, in this video, we'll uncover 15 intriguing details from Princess Diana's funeral procession that will leave you in awe. Number 1. Massive public turnout. The sheer scale of the public turnout for Princess Diana's funeral procession was unprecedented. An estimated 1 million people lined the streets of London, creating a sea of mourners that stretched for miles. This wasn't just a gathering. It was a phenomenon that spoke volumes about Princess Diana's impact on the public consciousness. People from all walks of life, young and old, rich and poor, stood shoulder to shoulder, united in their grief. Many had traveled from across the UK and even from other countries, camping out overnight to secure a spot along the procession route. The crowd was so dense in some areas that people could barely move, yet there was a sense of shared purpose and mutual respect. This massive turnout wasn't just evidence of Princess Diana's popularity. It was a clear message to the royal family and the world about the deep connection people felt with the people's princess. Number 2. Silent tribute. As the funeral procession made its way through London, perhaps the most striking aspect was the profound silence that fell over the crowd. Despite the millions gathered, an eerie hush descended upon the city, broken only by the rhythmic sound of horses' hooves and the tolling of church bells. This silence was not mandated or orchestrated. It was a spontaneous collective response that spoke volumes about the depth of emotion felt by the public. In a city known for its hustle and bustle, the silence was almost surreal. Many observers described it as the most powerful aspect of the day, more moving than any words could have been. Number 3. Walking behind the coffin. One of the most heart-wrenching images from the funeral procession was that of young Prince William and Prince Harry, aged 15 and 12 respectively, walking behind their mother's coffin. Joined by their father, Prince Charles, now King Charles III, grandfather, Prince Philip, and uncle, Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer, the young prince's participation in this public display of mourning was both controversial and deeply moving. The decision to have the boys walk in the procession was not without debate. Many felt it was too much to ask of children who had just lost their mother. However, others saw it as a necessary part of royal duty and a chance for the princes to honor their mother publicly. The image of these young boys, heads bowed, walking behind the coffin became one of the most iconic and emotionally charged moments of the day. It humanized the royal family in a way rarely seen before, showing the world that behind the titles and protocol, there was real, raw grief. Number 4. Floral tributes. The floral tributes that lined the procession route created a visual spectacle that was both beautiful and deeply moving. Tens of thousands of flowers ranging from elaborate bouquets to simple hand-picked blooms were left by mourners in the day leading up to the funeral. These created a vibrant path of remembrance that stretched for miles. The sea of flowers was not confined to the procession route alone. Outside Kensington Palace, Princess Diana's London residence, the floral tributes grew to such an extent that they were said to be 5 feet deep in places. The perfume from these millions of flowers filled the air, creating a sensory experience that many attendees would never forget. These floral tributes were more than just a tradition. They became a form of public expression. Many flowers were accompanied by personal notes, teddy bears, or photographs, each telling a story of how Princess Diana had touched someone's life. The sheer volume of these tributes became a physical manifestation of the public's love for Princess Diana and their grief at her loss. Number 5. The coffin. The coffin that carried Princess Diana's body became a powerful symbol in itself. Draped in the royal standard, it served as a reminder of Princess Diana's royal status despite her divorce from Prince Charles. The flag's presence sparked some controversy, as traditionally it's reserved for current members of the royal family, but it was seen as a fitting tribute to Princess Diana's enduring importance to the monarchy. Atop the coffin lay a wreath of white flowers, including lilies, Princess Diana's favorite. But perhaps the most poignant addition was a small envelope nestled among the blooms. It bore a single word: Mummy. This card from Princes William and Harry was a heart-wrenching reminder that amid the public spectacle, this was fundamentally about the loss of a beloved mother. The coffin was carried on a gun carriage, a tradition for royal funerals dating back to Queen Victoria's era. As it made its way through London, the coffin became the focus of the nation's gaze. Every detail, from the gentle sway as it moved to the gleaming wood visible beneath the flag, was scrutinized and imbued with meaning by the watching millions. Number 6. Earl Spencer's speech. Earl Spencer's eulogy for his sister Princess Diana was a defining moment of the funeral, memorable for its raw emotion and controversial content. Speaking in Westminster Abbey, Charles Spencer, 9th Earl Spencer, delivered a speech that was both a loving tribute to his sister and a scathing indictment of the media and, by implication, the royal family. Spencer's words resonated deeply with the public as he spoke of Princess Diana's compassion, her love for her sons, and her struggles with the pressures of royal life. He famously described her as the most hunted person of the modern age, a pointed reference to the relentless media pursuit that many believed contributed to her death. Perhaps most controversially, Spencer pledged to protect William and Harry, vowing that their blood family would guide them so that their souls would not be simply immersed by duty and tradition. This was widely interpreted as a criticism of the royal family and their approach to raising the young princes. Number 7. Westminster Abbey service. The funeral service at Westminster Abbey was a grand yet deeply personal affair that brought together an eclectic mix of 2,000 guests. This historic venue, the site of coronations and royal weddings for nearly a millennium, became the focal point for a global outpouring of grief. The guest list was testament to Princess Diana's wide-ranging impact and diverse connections. It included representatives from the 100-plus charities she supported, international dignitaries like Hillary Clinton and Henry Kissinger, and celebrities such as Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman, and Steven Spielberg. This mix of royalty, political figures, and stars from the entertainment world reflected Princess Diana's unique position as both a royal and a global celebrity. The service itself was a carefully choreographed blend of tradition and personal touches. Traditional hymns were interspersed with more modern elements, like Elton Johns' performance. Readings were given by Princess Diana's sisters, and Tony Blair read a passage from Corinthians, his voice thick with emotion. Number 8. Elton Johns' performance. One of the most memorable moments of Princess Diana's funeral was Elton John's performance of Candle in the Wind, 1997, a reworked version of his 1974 hit. This performance was not just a musical interlude. It became a defining moment of the service and a tribute that resonated around the world. The decision to include a pop star's performance in a royal funeral was unprecedented and reflected Princess Diana's impact on modernizing the monarchy. Elton John, a close friend of Princess Diana's, had originally been scheduled to sing Your Song, but it was decided that Candle in the Wind would be more appropriate if the lyrics were modified. Bernie Taupin rewrote the lyrics, changing the opening line from Goodbye Norma Jean to Goodbye England's Rose. The new version paid tribute to Princess Diana's compassion, grace, and the tragic nature of her death. John's emotional delivery in Westminster Abbey left many in tears, encapsulating the nation's grief in a way that formal eulogies could not. The performance was broadcast to millions worldwide, and the re-release single became the fastest-selling in UK chart history. It went on to become the best-selling single of all time globally. The song's success reflected how Elton John's tribute had captured the public mood and provided a musical memorial to Princess Diana that endured long after the funeral. Number 9. Global broadcast. The global broadcast of Princess Diana's funeral was an unprecedented media event watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide. This figure, representing about 40% of the world's population at the time, made it one of the most watched events in television history. The broadcast was a massive technical and logistical undertaking. Multiple camera angles captured every moment of the procession and service, while commentators provided context and background information. In the UK, BBC One and ITV's coverage began at 7 a.m. and continued uninterrupted until 4 p.m. with the BBC alone using 43 cameras to cover the event. The global nature of the broadcast highlighted Princess Diana's international appeal and the worldwide impact of her death. It was aired in numerous languages across different continents, with many countries interrupting regular programming to show the funeral live. In the United States, all major networks carried the funeral, starting in the early hours of the morning due to the time difference. Number 10. White roses and lilies. The choice of white roses and lilies as the primary flowers for Princess Diana's funeral was deeply symbolic and personal. These were known to be Princess Diana's favorite flowers, and their prominence in the funeral arrangements added a touching personal element to the formal proceedings. White roses have long been associated with purity, innocence, and new beginnings in many cultures. In the language of flowers, they can also represent honor and reverence, fitting tributes to Princess Diana's memory. Lilies, particularly white lilies, are traditionally associated with restored innocence for the departed. They're also linked with majesty and purity, again appropriate for a princess known for her humanitarian work. These flowers were everywhere during the funeral proceedings. They adorned the gun carriage bearing Princess Diana's coffin, formed part of the wreath atop the coffin, and were prominent in the floral displays inside Westminster Abbey. The sweet, heavy scent of lilies filled the air, creating an olfactory memory that many attendees would associate with the day for years to come. Number 11. Hymns and music. The musical selections for Princess Diana's funeral were carefully chosen to reflect both her personal tastes and her royal status. The hymns and songs played a crucial role in setting the emotional tone of the service and providing moments of reflection and catharsis for those in attendance and watching around the world. One of the most significant musical choices was "I Vow to Thee My Country," a hymn known to be one of Princess Diana's favorites. Its lyrics, which speak of unwavering love for one's country and a heavenly kingdom, seemed particularly poignant given Princess Diana's complex relationship with royal life and her untimely death. The hymn had been sung at her wedding to Prince Charles, creating a touching symmetry between the beginning and end of her public life. The musical selections also included pieces that highlighted Princess Diana's Welsh connections, such as a Welsh lament played by a piper. This mix of traditional hymns, classical pieces, and contemporary songs created a musical tapestry that honored Princess Diana's roots while also reflecting her modern appeal. Number 12. Security measures. The security operation for Princess Diana's funeral was one of the largest and most complex ever undertaken in London. With millions of mourners expected to line the streets and numerous high-profile guests attending the service, the challenges were immense. The operation involved multiple agencies, including the Metropolitan Police, British Transport Police, and various intelligence services. Over 11,000 police officers were deployed along the funeral route, with many more working behind the scenes. Rooftop snipers were positioned at key points, and the plainclothes officers mingled with the crowds. One of the biggest challenges was managing the unprecedented number of people expected to gather in central London. Plans were put in place for crowd control, including the strategic placement of barriers and the creation of designated viewing areas. Emergency services were on high alert, with extra ambulances and medical staff on standby to deal with any incidents in the large crowds. Number 13. The route. The route chosen for Princess Diana's funeral procession was carefully planned to balance practical considerations with symbolic significance. The journey began at Kensington Palace, Princess Diana's home, and wound its way through central London to Westminster Abbey. From Kensington Palace, the cortege proceeded along Bayswater Road, passing Kensington Gardens, a place Princess Diana had often visited with her sons. It then turned onto Hyde Park Corner and down Constitution Hill, skirting the edge of Green Park. This stretch allowed large numbers of mourners to gather safely in the open spaces of the parks. The procession then passed Buckingham Palace, the official residence of the monarch. As the cortege went by, Queen Elizabeth II bowed her head in a rare public display of emotion. This moment was seen by many as a powerful symbol of respect and reconciliation between Princess Diana and the royal family. Number 14. Public grief. The public display of grief following Princess Diana's death and during her funeral was unprecedented in its scale and intensity. It marked a significant shift in British emotional culture, often characterized by reserve and stoicism, towards a more open expression of feelings. In the days leading up to the funeral, tens of thousands of people queued to sign books of condolence. Outside Kensington Palace, mourners lay flowers, cards, and personal mementos in ever-growing piles. Many openly wept or embraced strangers who were similarly affected. This public outpouring was not limited to London. Similar scenes were witnessed across the UK and around the world. On the day of the funeral, the depth of public emotion was palpable. As the cortege passed, many of the crowd sobbed openly. Others threw flowers onto the road or reached out as if trying to touch the coffin. The silence that fell over the crowd was frequently punctuated by cries of "Princess Diana" or "We love you." Number 15. Final journey to Althorp. After the public funeral service at Westminster Abbey, Princess Diana's body began its final journey to her family home, Althorp House in Northamptonshire. This last leg of Princess Diana's journey was designed to be more private, a family affair in contrast to the very public procession and service in London. The coffin was transferred from the gun carriage to a hearse for the 70-mile journey north. As the hearse drove through London, crowds lined the streets, throwing flowers onto the vehicle. The motorway along the route was closed to other traffic, and even then people gathered on bridges and along the roadside to pay their final respects. Upon reaching the gates of Althorp, the family's ancestral home, the hearse was met by a small group of family members. In a private ceremony, Princess Diana was laid to rest on a small island in the middle of an ornamental lake, known as the Round Oval, within the Althorp estate grounds. The island burial site was chosen for its privacy and tranquility. And there you have it, 15 intriguing details from Princess Diana's funeral procession. This historic event wasn't just a farewell to a beloved princess. It was a moment that changed the monarchy and touched millions around the world. But we'd love to hear from you. What detail from Princess Diana's funeral procession struck you the most? Was it the sea of flowers, the young princes walking behind the coffin, or perhaps Earl Spencer's powerful eulogy? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up and share it with others who might find it interesting also. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more video content. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye!